Berserk is returning in 2022, and fans are expectedly extremely excited. Could have never seen me saying that sentence. I'm sure that with that statement alone, you probably have a very large amount of questions, like who's supervising it, when is it returning, and why and how is it returning. The person supervising the production and return of Berserk is Kouji Mori, and you may recognize that name, but in case you don't, he's the author of Holy Land and Suicide Island, the former being a psychological martial art based manga with relatively high praise because of its themes, storytelling and depth, and the former being a psychological tragedy manga also with relatively high praise. Both of these series and Berserk share the common factor that they're all seinen, so a link is already established between these series. Not only is there a link between these series though, there's also a very important link between both Miura and Mori. From this insert, we can see that both of these mangaka were friends from high school and they had a relationship that lasted 40 years. You can see how much both of them cared for each other greatly, and both of them inspired each of their own manga series. So much so that in an interview, Miura stated that, for the relationship between Casca and Griffith, I'm using myself and my close friend and fellow manga artist Kouji Mori as a model. Which one of us is Guts and which is Griffith switches from time to time, but I think it serves as a symbol of male friendship. A further testament to their relationship is the fact that Mori states that Miura was the only person that he told the entire story to, and assuming that this statement is true, which it likely is, their deep relationship is the sole reason we are getting a continuation of Berserk. Understandably, people may be concerned regarding the direction that these series will take, but based on the statement we received on Twitter, I definitely think that Berserk is in good hands, both in terms of storytelling and art. This is because the studio he has built up is filled with very talented artists that are capable of creating art very reminiscent of Miura's works. We've also been given information from the official Berserk account that they found memos of the ideas he wrote and designs for the characters that he drew and left behind. The statement from the Berserk Twitter as a whole feels and seems genuine and heartfelt. Because Miura didn't leave rough drafts related to the story, it's obviously impossible for the studio to recreate Berserk perfectly, but they plan to not deviate from his words in order for us readers to get a faithfully envisioned continuation to the series. Regarding the date that Berserk is coming back, it's making a return on the 24th, which is a lot sooner than I was expecting. In terms of why it's returning, I can think of a few reasons, but I think that the main one is Mori's desire to honor Miura's pride and continue his legacy. As he is his best friend and clearly had a lot of influence on the series, it makes sense and is honestly really beautiful to see. In case you haven't read it or are very confused as to why people are so excited concerning its release, simply put, it's peak fiction. It's the most prominent dark fantasy manga, and despite first being published in 1990, you can still definitely see its influence that it's had on manga, anime, and other forms of media we see today. For example, in Dark Souls, a franchise that has become extremely popular within the Western world, there are obvious inspirations and tributes to the series within its weapons, enemies, general themes, and settings. The creator of the series, Miyazaki himself, has also stated that he's been directly inspired by Berserk. A relatively recent series being Black Clover has also been shown to have very clear inspiration from Berserk. The weapon that Asta uses, as well as the extreme similarities between Griffith and Vengeance, show this off clearly. I could go over the reasons as to why Berserk is so influential for a good 20 minutes, but the main reasons in my opinion is the art, its ability to explore themes so well, and how different an individual the series is even after 30 years of publication. The landscape within the panels and spreads are absolutely stunning, there's so much detail in every character on the page, and their emotions are extremely well expressed. It's a manga that's not afraid to make the reader feel an extreme variety of emotion. Sympathy for the living conditions and backstories of characters, anger towards characters with certain ideologies, fear of the unknown, and fear of depictions of monsters within the series. It grittily explains and shows raw displays of human nature as well as the darker aspects of it. Themes and parallels are conveyed well through characters, and it's honestly the most immersed I've ever been in a series. That's why I personally am excited for the return of Berserk, and probably why others are as well. If you haven't read it before, now is probably the perfect time, but be warned, it's an extremely dark manga and certain aspects may turn you away from it very quickly. Hopefully you enjoyed this relatively short video, and as always, have